Magnus from Axis. Yes, okay. Okay. So can you see my screen? Okay, and sound is okay? Okay, then I will, should I wait 2 minutes to start till 12, or do you want me to start now?
Начинайте, пожалуйста.
Okay, thank you. So, first I want to thank Softprom for the excellent organization of, if you want to, you can allow me to start my video so you can see me speak if you want.
Как вам будет удобно?
Yeah, but it says now that I'm not able to share my video. But anyway, I'll start. So first we want to thank Softprom for the excellent organization of this 3D Tech Fair and for the invitation to participate in this enormous scale online conference, which is quite exciting. We think the preparation for this event has once again proved the high professionalism and creative thinking from the Softprom team, and we're looking forward to work on a lot of interesting projects together in Kazakhstan. So that said, my name is Magnus Zederfeldt. I'm the Regional Director for Eastern Europe, Russia and CIS for Axis Communications. And before I go into the actual topic, let me see if I can change my slide here. There we are. Just for you that don't know Axis, just very, very brief. We're a company that was founded in 1984, so 36 years ago. We do products and solutions for visual, for sound, and for analytics in physical security. We're a $1.3 billion company last year and been growing for the last 15 years. And we're actually, outside China, we're the #1 in video surveillance around the world. And I think the biggest assets we have is our partners and around the world. So that said, let me see if my... There. So I was asked today to talk about technology trends that is affecting the security sector, and I'm talking about physical security market then. And it's never easy to look into the future. It's always a risk to speculate and guess. But Axis, we have been analyzing trends for many years now, and we always, every year we publish our trends analysis, both in technology and in business trends on our website, axis.com. And so far we've been very accurate. So you're welcome to go into our website and follow for every year the trends that we suspect will happen. So the first trend I will speak about today is about the world on the edge. And when we say that, we're talking about computing at the edge of the network. It's very clear that today with all the IoT and everything, I mean, there's more and more devices of various kinds connected to your networks, of course. But the question is also, what type of devices are these? Are they stupid sensors or smart sensors? And I think it's quite a clear trend that there is a demand that the sensors themselves should be, could see what's happening and even decide what to do and even take action. And not having to go all the way up to the cloud to get an instruction and back again to take action. For example, if we talk about autonomous vehicles and so on, obviously, if you have an object walking in front of your car, you want an immediate action of the car stopping, and you don't have to be connected to some cloud intelligence service to make that happen. And this obviously means that different edge devices will be smart and also communicating with each other. In video surveillance or the physical security industry, this is very important because it's a clear trend that our customers is asking that the investment they're doing in physical security must be proactive rather than just reactive. I mean, in the old days, you installed video surveillance, for example, to be able to investigate things after they happen. Today, the demand is that your system should actually take proactive measures to avoid crimes from happening before they happen, instead of just investigate. And this obviously means that we need to have a lot of processing power in the edge devices and so on. And for Axis, we're designing our own chip, which we call RPEX7, is the latest one, and is really designed with a security-first mindset. So when we're talking about the edge, I talked then about sensor integration, and I chose to have that as a separate trend, because what we're talking about here is at the edge, combining and integrating different types of sensors to work together and to take smart actions together. And today we have so many sensors, and I will later in the presentation talk more about different types of sensors that is available for the network. And there's thermal, there's atmospheric, there is, of course, video, there's audio, and so on. And if you think about a little bit how these different type of smart sensors can be combined and the potential benefits for your solutions are endless. So, talking about the edge, and we're talking about then the network, and we see clearly a trend today that it's moving away from the fully open internet, and because the IoT and the fully open internet and cloud and so on has been sort of a trend and a big hype for many, many years. But with all the new different things are happening, you have a lot of regulations from governments like GDPR and so on, and you have cybersecurity issues and other things, which means that I think most of companies today is partly moving away from the fully open internet and instead are developing private clouds or hybrid clouds. I think the open internet will always be often be part of solutions for storing data or transferring data and so on, but the solutions as such are really moving into more hybrid or private clouds. And in a way, this speaks against another trend or buzzword of artificial intelligence, because that is sort of assuming that the big data in the cloud will help train different applications or analytics to be smarter. But I will talk a little bit about that more, but we see today that with stored data, we can actually train applications, even in private clouds, to be much smarter with deep learning. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. For example, Axis has a subsidiary company called CityLog that is making for over 30 years traffic monitoring solutions with intelligent video analytics. And with a huge sort of old database of images and video from accidents, we could go in and train the applications, and we could reduce false alarms with 95%. So I think the network diversity is a trend. The good thing is that we can still use deep learning and other things connected to that. So video analytics, maybe it's not really a trend because it's been around for many years, but I think the trend is that now it is used everywhere, and basically most of the camera or physical security installations that is done is using some form of video analytics. So the broad implementation and usage is really a trend. And why? Well, as I said before, it's clear that the customers today, when they invest in these systems, are asking for protection to avoid crime or incidents to happen, rather than just being able to document them. And of course, that you want surveillance and attention all the time, 24 hours a day, all year round, without getting tired. So I would say the implementation and broad usage of this is clearly a trend. One thing that also, where that is showing clearly, I think that if we look at our cameras today that we sell, that some years ago included some fairly basic analytics for motion detection and so on. Today, cameras include a lot more advanced analytics already from start, and free included in the camera software, like motion guards, which is an advanced motion detection for anything that is moving in an area where it shouldn't be. We have fence guard application that is basically creating a virtual fence if anything is passing an area where they shouldn't be, and even loitering guards where you want to allow people to walk by or cars to drive by without an alarm crease, but if something stops or a bag is left or something where you don't want it to be, I mean, that will trigger an alarm. So I think even the sort of free included analytics applications in when you buy, for example, a camera today is getting more and more advanced and is used a lot. And of course, coming into that, they will be many times used to trigger another device at the edge. But I'm coming back to that. So I talked a little bit about AI, or artificial intelligence, which I'm not sure we want to call it a trend today, but it's definitely a very big buzzword in the industry today. And first of all, I want to say that Axis really believes very, very strongly in artificial intelligence and deep learning. And we have a big department working only with this in our R&D. And I would say that most of our 1,500 engineers developing our products are using AI and deep learning in their development. However, when it comes to application and solutions that we offer to the market, we are a little bit careful to manage the expectations, because we see also, if we talk about basic video analytics, that maybe 10, 15 years ago, this was a big hype, and a lot of companies invested a lot of money and time into video analytics, and it wasn't mature enough yet at that time. It is today, but I mean, at that time, many companies got disappointed and spent a lot of money on things that they didn't really have usage for. I think a good example is Facebook. I read an article that Facebook, to fight this harassing language and so on their site, and I mean, Facebook is one of the most advanced companies in artificial intelligence today, but when they had to monitor harassing language on Facebook, they couldn't do it with artificial intelligence. So instead, they hired 3,000 people to sit and watch the communication stream. So if not even Facebook can do that, I think we need to realize that artificial intelligence is not really mature for everything today. But it will be in the future, and we're working hard on it and using it. I think the trick is to use it really where it makes a difference. Like, for example, the example I gave with the traffic monitoring, where we've been where we have trained video analytics applications with old video for deep learning to minimize 95% of the alarms. I think that's a very good example where it has really good usage already today. Well, we can't talk about trends in the market without mentioning cybersecurity, because of course the more products and devices and the more advanced devices we connect to the network, there will be more and more threats, and I think the cyber criminals, they will never stop trying to find and exploit vulnerabilities. So cybersecurity in a way will never be 100% solved because it's an ongoing process to protect ourselves from the cyber criminals. So what is happening here? Well, what you have to do is to have a constant awareness of the threats and you have for your system, including your physical security system, and you have to take protective maintenance for this. So I think some tips from our side, because we are an IT company, and before we invented the world's first IP video camera, we were the global market leader in print servers, and already at that time, obviously, we were working very clearly with cybersecurity for our print servers. So we have a long history in this area. And I think the way we see it as, you have to look at every device connected to your network as a potential risk. And then you have to secure that that device is not your weakest link of your chain. And that means that all your devices needs to have all the encryption functions that is needed. You need to have solutions for IP address filtering, for assigned firmware, and all the hardening guides and tools around your devices, of course. To do that, you need to look at partnering with the right providers of products and the ecosystem of products, and really choose the partners that have the knowledge, the experience, the openness, and the transparency. Because, and then, of course, also the tools, providing you with the tools for the maintenance and management of all your devices. I think we put a lot of pride in really working very hard on any vulnerabilities we find, and of course update firmware and so on, but also provide you with the tools for the maintenance and device management to quickly and easily upgrade products with new firmware and so on. Last, I think the tip from us around cybersecurity is to always minimize the human factor, because the human factor doesn't matter what we do with our products and the tools, the human factor will always be the weakest link, and we all know this. So obviously to have clear policies and procedures around cybersecurity with all that matters there is key. And we do provide in our hardening guides and other training material and so on, good tips on how to make this happen. So another trend I plan to speak about is about TCO, because I think in the physical security industry, traditionally has been very focused on price and the initial investment, while the IT market have been much more focused on the total cost of ownership over time, including the operation and maintenance costs and so on. Probably partly because IT is considered that it has to work all the time, while historically physical security was something that sometimes you didn't look at it until something has happened. But with this change of physical security solution being proactive rather than reactive, obviously is more considered as important that it works all the time. And obviously the marriage between IT and physical security here is important. So, and in the IT world, there has always been a lot of templates and models for doing TCO studies. While this is quite new in the physical security industry, but so we today provide some case studies, tools, and so on our website, and our salespeople are, of course, willing to help. And we do see a clear trend that there is a big interest for this now also in the physical security industry. So, talking about challenges, I mean, it could be challenges or opportunities. One thing we clearly see as a continuous trend is that more and more products or different types of devices or sensors is converging into IP, because in physical security, traditionally, it has been very analog. I think video surveillance have already completely moved into IP and being on the network. But today we have intercom, access control, public address, and so on, audio solutions, all moving it more into network. So obviously that is challenges, but also creates opportunities. And I think many of you know Metcalfes Law, which basically says that the value of your network and your network investments increases with the number of connected devices you have to it. So what new devices do we have except for IP cameras? Well, we have multi-sensor cameras, that is a different type of cameras. We have network loudspeakers, we have network microphone consoles, door stations, physical access control solutions for IP, and radar as well. So a lot of new types of products are going into IP and will create more value for your network, for your solutions, and obviously open the opportunity for this, I talked about integrated edge devices to take smart actions on the fly, to be proactive rather than reactive. So some examples, I mean, panoramic cameras I mentioned, nothing completely new, but this has evolved a lot. And today you have camera models that can cover up to 360 degrees. And many times this is a very smart way to reduce your TCO as well, because for example, over a crossroad, as we see on this picture, you can have one camera with one chip, and it's one license in your software, and obviously you can cover a huge area, and you install just the installation of one camera instead of maybe 4 or 8 to cover this area is obviously a great opportunity. Another thing is audio. I would not go in so much into detail to this, but obviously we have all types of speakers, both horn speakers and music type speakers and microphone consoles and different devices to even use part of your legacy analog system. But with audio, you can really create this like a camera sees something, and then you can have a pre-recorded message already stored in your speaker, and you can just ask the camera to trigger the speaker to, for example, leave an area or so on. So that immediate response in a physical security environment is a very, very efficient way to be proactive in security rather than reactive. And finally, let me mention about radar, because radar has always been a very analog and in a way a military application. But today we also provide network-based radar for parameter protection, for loading docks and so on. And obviously the radar has the benefit that it can see the objects moving and size of objects and distance to objects and so on. So for example, the radar can also trigger a PTZ camera to zoom in to something that shouldn't be in a specific area. So my final slide, I think we always in our trend report says that the common link between all the trends that we see is always about trust. And of course, one thing about trust is cybersecurity, and make sure that you have vendors with products and tools and methods to support you in your cybersecurity measurements, but also responsible behavior in business is more and more demanding. And we see clearly today that in a lot of projects we're involved in, especially with governments and so on, we have to provide our sustainability reports and explain how we follow the United Nations Global Compact for businesses and so on and so on. So it's clear trend in the industry in all forms of trust is critical for business success. And that was my last slide. So now I open for if there are any questions to me.
Отлично, благодарим за вопрос, за ваш слот. Мы ожидаем следующего спикера. У нас есть один вопрос. Алексей, вы видите его? Вопрос, можете зачитать его? Он находится в блоке «Вопросы и ответы». What is your recommendation for IT specialists who manage all IT infrastructure, expert video surveillance, because video is still closed system for security guys?
Well, I think what we see as a trend is that the security guys and the IT departments have to work together, because the security guys have to put their cameras and other devices on the network, and then they have to cooperate with IT. So if I understand the question right, I think you as an IT department, you obviously have to work together with your security guys, and you have to help them because you're experts on cybersecurity and other measures. So you have to help them to be clear on the demands of all the products they put on the network, and help them create the policies and measurements to provide with cybersecurity and so on. And then, of course, that's the cybersecurity side of it. Then to sort of calculate how much network bandwidth you need for their applications and so on, I would say look into the tools, because we have a lot of tools to help you calculate bandwidth, storage, and everything you need to make sure that your network is proper functioning for the security solutions. And I think your security guys knows this. They have access to all these tools, and we're happy to provide them to you in the IT as well. And if you don't have it, please talk to your security guys, and they will help you to find us and the tools. I hope I answered your question.